Welcome back to the Spiritual Teachers Podcast. With me today is Angelique, and Angelique is a heart-led truth seeker and a visionary who's been working with the Yawanawa tribe for 13 years. It's such an honor to have you on today. Thank you for coming on, Angelique.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, we got a really interesting conversation for everyone today. And just before I announce the topics, I want to give a big shout out to Shayna, who's been on the podcast. Thank you, Shayna, for connecting myself with Angelique. So I'm really excited. So today we're going to talk about the path that led Angelique to the Yawanawas. We're going to talk about uh, a, uh, a woman named Shahu and the opening of the medicine to women. We're going to talk about how the medicine and the indigenous guardians of it can help the world. So I'm really excited. Angelique, would you be open to sharing how um, sharing the path that led you to the Yawanawas?
Yes, I'd love to. So, I had a friend who he's from Brazil, and his family had a connection with the Yawanawa. One of their healers had a dream or a vision that this man in Rio de Janeiro, which is in Brazil, needed help. And so somehow they ended up at their family's doorstep. And my friend's father had a really bad back problems. He couldn't walk straight or anything. So my friend was young at the time, and he fell asleep as they were doing the healing session. And whenever he woke up the next morning, his dad was walking like he had never seen him, like he never had a back problem. And
Wow.
so they were really amazed by that. And then the Indigenous invited them to their home, to the village. And so my friend and his family went, and there he had a life changing experience with the Indigenous, with the medicines, and he never became the same. Was the same person again, in a very good way. And so he had an idea. He was like, well, if it changed my life so much, I wonder what it'd be like if I brought my friends from the United States, from Brazil, from all over the world. Would they have the same experience as me? And so then he invited me to go, and I think it was a group of 10 of us, and we spent 10 days in the Wanawa village. And it completely changed our lives. And it was there that I found, as soon as I arrived, I felt like I was home, and I knew that there was some mission there for me to fulfill.
Mm, beautiful. Beautiful. So that was 13 years ago?
Yeah, 13 or 14 years ago.
Wow. Wow. And your group was one of the first retreats that they ever had, right?
Yes, we were the first official retreat that they had. And now they have many. People come from all over the world, but we were the first official retreat to be held in the Yawanawa territory.
Wow. That's
Um,
that's really amazing. That's really amazing. And you've been going back every year since then, right?
Not every year, but uh, after that first year, I went back the next year, and then I waited 1 year and I went back again. And then I've spent a lot of time in Brazil since then and everything. But one of the also really cool things about our first encounter there was that the youth, they were not so um, they didn't value their culture so much. They have a long history of when missionaries came in and taught them that their way of life was not right, and made them learn Portuguese instead of their language. And so there's a generational age gap where people weren't studying the culture, and that's all been revolutionized now. But whenever we went, the youth saw how we wanted to learn their language. We were asking questions and about their music, right? And we couldn't get enough. And for them, they thought, those of us from the United States who had earphones and CDs and music and all the cool things, they thought that was cool. But then when they saw how much we were interested, it brought a revolution, and the youth began to study. And now there's so many amazing musicians. If you go on Spotify, you'll see all this beautiful music and profound studies that the youth are so committed and love their culture and are proud to be who they are.
I love that. I love that. That's so important because that's happening all around the world, and people are looking at America, as like at least they were for a long time, like as like, oh, they're doing all these cool things. They got the Sony Walkmans and the CD players, and then the iPads and the iPhones, and now it's all become much more connected versus like when I was growing up in the 90s and things like that, it was um, it was looked at as something like that people strive for. But that's amazing that they've been reconnecting. That's so important. You know, that's so important to keep the teachings and the culture alive for the next generations and for the whole world because the world needs this as one of the amazing ways to help with the mass awakening, you know?
Hmm. Hmm. Exactly.
Exactly. So when you went back, the following year, um, you had shared with me offline that you had a really powerful experience, right? Was it on that trip?
It was actually the first trip that I
Oh,
had.
okay. Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it all started all at once.
Okay.
And
So do you want to share, would you like to share what happened?
sure, I can. So that first trip, we were playing music by a fire. And so it was my first time to the village. And so I was young and I had a lot to grow into myself and embody. And so I was a little bit insecure at the same time and a little clumsy. And one time I was walking to the fire and there was a U-shaped bench around it. It wasn't a square because it was near the edge of the cliff. And so when I was walking to the fire, I ran into the bench and I startled my friend. And I was upset with myself. I was like, why aren't you paying attention? Why are you so clumsy? Pay attention to where you're stepping. So the next time that I was walking to the fire, I made sure that I stepped around the bench. But whenever I stepped around the bench, I stepped into nothing and I fell off the cliff.
Mm,
And I really didn't realize it was happening. I think I passed out a little bit at first. My body was probably protecting me. And I woke up when I was rolling down, and it was an 80-foot cliff. So it was very high. And as
whoa.
I was rolling down, it didn't seem so fast. So what I was understanding was that I could try to stop myself. But then it was too strong, the impact and the momentum. And so then I thought, oh my God, I wonder if I'm going to roll all the way to the bottom. That could be dangerous. There's a bunch of rocks here. And I was like, God, angels, please help me. And then I also had a thought, please don't let me break my teeth because we were so far away from civilization that if I broke my teeth, it would be ugly and then I couldn't get it fixed right away. Wasn't thinking about my life that was at stake, you know.
Right.
And then I landed at the bottom and it was a moonlit night and I could see the fire. And so when I landed, I stood up and I saw there's so many people looking and screaming up above and I yelled at them. I said, "Oh my God, I'm okay." And then they all said, "Stay where you are, don't move." And I got really upset because like, man, they're being really intense. And so I sat down on a log and I was just like huffing and puffing and just, not happy. And then I looked up and I realized what happened. It all hit me. I was like, oh my God, I fell from that high. How did I make it? And then three Indigenous ran down the cliff, jig jag because they're just ninjas like that to
Mhm.
come and up above. They didn't know if I was alive or if I had broken anything. They were thinking the worst. And so they came and then my other friends walked down the path to get to me. And so they brought me to the shamans there, and I received two healings from them. And then the female leader and shaman Page of the tribe, later on, she came to me and she told me that the spirit of the fall had left and that I was going to be okay. And so I didn't have any concussions. I didn't break any bones. I didn't have internal bleeding. I was completely blessed.
Wow.
But what happened was that I was just beginning my path. And before that, everything was lighthearted. The ceremonies, I would dance and just be joyous. And after that, it brought me down to my very depths. And I
Mm,
really began to do some deep work and some deep inner healing that took many years for me I always say this, to metaphorically climb back up the cliff, right?
mhm.
But it ultimately changed my life. And I'm also very blessed to have had that experience now that I can look back on it and laugh.
Beautiful, beautiful. So you got a firsthand experience on that first trip, what it's like to get a healing from the leading shamans, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What is a healing? Um, is there medicine involved, or is it more feathers? What kind of healing do they do?
It's not, it doesn't have to have medicine involved, and it doesn't necessarily require feathers. I mean,
Okay.
sometimes they have like eagle feather or something, but you don't have to have that. So the person who is able to do a healing on you is someone who's done a year-long diet called the Muka, or other diets that are profound studies. There's only a few, and so they have a profound study where they have specifically worked on being able to do healing work on someone and connect in with the spiritual realm and bring that force of healing to you. And
Hmm.
so it can be anything. They can heal a wide array of things. So it can be if you're having like some kind of physical problems or hurts or pains, and also could be emotional or blockages or and things like that. And so they say their prayers and they speak in the Wanawa language, and they do a healing. For me, they focus a lot on my head and on my heart as well. And it's like it's a cleansing and a clearing, and also brings protection for you as well.
Okay. Okay. Beautiful. And so, in terms of the different dietas that can make someone a healer in that culture, is there only a few different ones that people sit with in order to become a healer?
Yeah, and it starts with you don't do typically that kind of diet right away. You start in more in 1 month diets where you learn, because you're learning the culture and their ways, right? So that includes their sieties and their chants, and it's a fine study, right, to sing it in the cadence and in the way that it was received. And
Hmm.
also there's something that you pray called the Ruawakin. It's in Yawanawas where they it's like an affirmative prayer. So it's a prayer in the language where on a diet you wake up at sunrise every morning and you light something called sapa. Sapa is like a resin from a bark of a tree that's known as the perfume of the good spirits. And so
Mm.
it brings a good energy, it cleanses, it clears, and it also brings your prayers directly to the spiritual force. A little thing about sapa as well is that, for an example, if there's a child that's crying all night long, they'll and crying incessantly, they can't calm it down, they'll burn sapa over coals and bring it in the room, and it most often calms the baby down. So it's good at any time somebody they do a healing for you, right? Then they'll light sapa to do the healing along with you, because it just cleanses and calms. And so on a diet, you study that, you learn that, and you also learn about their stories. They have stories called Shani Pahus that are they're ancient stories that come back from they go way back to the beginning of their time. And the Shani Pahus, they didn't stories that didn't necessarily happen, but they have lessons for anybody of any age. So it could be a young boy, young girl, an adolescent boy or girl, a single youth, a married youth, an elder. And so you learn in the stories what to do or what not to do. So it's education. It's how the Yawanawa educate their generations. And so in a diet, you learn that as well. And also you learn a lot about yourself, right? And your personal power and how to be connected into the spiritual force. And so as you're studying the prayers and the chants and learning their stories, you're also really getting to know yourself, right? And how to empower who you are and strengthen that in purity and in goodness. So that's how you begin. And then there's other diets that go deeper and deeper. And then in some of the higher ones, that's when you can do those healings as well.
Mm, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, thanks for that deep description of that. And I'm just curious, how have you sat with some dietas?
I have.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah. And
Be-
it's been profound. It's made me a stronger person, right? It
mhm.
definitely has. And also one thing I'd like to share. So in the Wanawa, they have the path of the healer, right? But they also have another path, which they call the Napuihu, and that's the healing medicinal plants. And so
Mm,
there's some sicknesses that their teacher and shaman would say that there's some sicknesses that a healer can heal, but there's some sicknesses that the plants can heal. And so
mm,
that's one of the missions that I have, or the work that I do, is that we're preserving that knowledge. And because a lot of the elders who held this knowledge are passing away, and there's one person with that knowledge still left alive. And as each one passes, a living library goes away. And so we have a project to save this knowledge and to keep on studying, and also to teach the future generations. Because there, for example, if a woman doesn't want to have children anymore, she can use a plant and drink the juice from the leaves and enter into a small diet. And even if she wanted to, after that, she could never have a child again. And there's no
Mm,
surgery, no pain, no anything like that. There's plans for whenever a woman is pregnant and getting close to giving birth to help get the baby in place, to help with the birth, and then after to help get the uterus and everything back into place. And there's healing treatments. For example, I grew up as a child passing out. I had something in my heart that would flap open and close instead of just having a normal heartbeat. And so I was stronger in my adult life, but I still had this weakness inside. And so they decided to do a leaf treatment for me. And I did this for 1 month, a bath in the morning and a bath in the evening. And this plant medicine man, he put together the different plants that would work specifically for me and what I had, because it was diagnosed within their culture. They've already had this before. And so the bath consists of a bunch of different leaves that work with that particular sickness or whatever it is that's going on. And you put it in a big pot over a fire. And then they call it vapuração, where I sit over the pot and they put like a big blanket on top of me. So it makes like a sauna. And
mhm,
you breathe in this for like 20 to 40 minutes, however long you can take it.
mhm,
And then after that, they mix that very hot boiling water with cool water to make warm to hot water. And they take the leaves and they give you a bath. And I did that
mm.
twice a day. I had some of the most profound experiences, and to this day, I have not passed out since. And my demeanor is stronger. And so there's healings from healers, and there's also the plants that are subtle and comforting, but also strong. And so that's
Mm.
also part of the Wanawa culture as well.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So in terms of your path, is it geared towards that plant knowledge, or is it geared towards the healer, or is it something you feel like your mission's different than that?
It's encompasses all of it, right?
Mm,
And the Yawanawas that I work with and everything, they too are that. And so it's definitely to study the prayers and the music and the stories, right? But also it's for the plants, and they work hand in hand together too. For me, studying them together, doing them together, and sharing this knowledge with other people has been what is my mission, right? And the mission of those that I work with, and the carrying on of this knowledge. Mm-hmm.
beautiful. Beautiful. So you have an organization called the Spirit of the Forest, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And is that part of what you were mentioning earlier with getting the live recordings of the elders and passing on the knowledge to the next generations?
Yeah, so Spirit of the Forest is a company that we have here in the United States, and it's connected to Brazil and to our mission there. And
Mhm.
so our mission at Spirit of the Forest is to help bring the spirit of the forest into the hearts of humanity, whether that be the selling of a bracelet or the selling of a dress. They have the most beautiful hand painted dresses in their designs that brings a form of protection, right? Or we also have online, like sometimes it's monthly, sometimes every few months, community gatherings where we get to bring people together from all over the world. And
Mhm.
we have a moment to the Indigenous, they sing their chants, get everybody in the same vibrational space. And then we talk about what's going on in the world through an Indigenous lens for people to get wisdom and bring that into their daily lives. And we go even deeper with that, and we do online studies. We began the online studies in the pandemic because we had to cancel a retreat because people couldn't travel. And then we started doing the online studies and realized that that same spiritual force, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, it still comes. And people had the most profound healings because in the studies, people get a chance to prepare for a diet one day or prepare to go to Brazil, where they learn the chants. They learn, each week has a theme. So it connects in with like what's going on in themselves in the world and what we're teaching, right? Through the Indigenous lens and everything like that. And we also sometimes offer little Ruawa Kings, little Yawanawa prayers that people can practice in that language. And we
Mm,
have an opportunity too for us to have interactions where people can share what's going on, and the Indigenous can give them feedback and guidance in their lives. And then so also Spirit of the Forest, it encompasses helping bring people to Brazil. We have a place in Bahia, Yawanawa Center there, and also the village as well. And
Mhm.
so it's to share the plants, right? And we make products from the plants, like oils and creams and things like that are
Mhm.
profoundly healing. And so spirit of the forest is just a way to help bring the spirit of the forest and share it with the world. Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, we'll drop whatever links you have into the description. And there's an event coming up, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So we're going to be doing an online study, and it's beginning on February 17th. So I don't
Okay.
know if you all know this, but February 17th is the Chinese New Year, and
Mm.
we're moving into the year of the horse. And
Hmm.
so we've been in the year of the snake, and the snake has been a lot of shedding and letting go and preparing us for transformation in this next step. And
Hmm.
so the year of the horse is a lot of forward movement, fast movement, getting things done, being connected.
Mm.
Um, and also, though, so we decided to start the online study on the day of the year of the horse, because also for us to be able to have our reins on the horse and be able to direct the horse, because it has a wildfire energy.
Oh
And
yeah.
so, yeah. And so we're going to be focusing on Nukut sign. That's what they call the Yawanawa language, because
Mm.
their language is this ancient language is so profound. One word has many, 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 many meanings, right? It was born from the beginning of time when there was no technology and the indigenous lived in connection and harmony with nature. And so they had this like poetic, like profound understanding of simple things, of the way that the leaves move in the trees, right? Or just the way the water flows and the fish that goes there. And so we're going to begin to learn some of the words and how word as power, and also connect it into how important it is that we're connected to what we're saying, what we're speaking in the world. And so we're going to teach the language, and at the same time help to guide ourselves in this time, how to speak in a way, how to move in a way that's connected to ourselves, right? And to the truth that exists. And through this study, we're also going to study some sieties, which it's their ancient chants, so you can practice singing them and expression in a healthy way. And we're gonna dive in deep, and it's gonna be really awesome.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, well, our episode should be released by then, uh, at the end of January, so that'll be perfect. Yeah,
Yay!
amazing, amazing. So, yeah, anything that you need to help support the movement and the mission, just let me know and we can share any of that. I'd love to support in any way I can. And yeah, so I'm so curious. So, uh, when you started with the dietas, right? Uh, did was your first one like a month long and then it kind of built up from there, or what was what was the build up for you?
Yeah, so the first one, it was technically 1 month long,
Mhm.
but I chose to do it for 3 months,
Mm.
to continue it on, because it was so profound for me, and I just felt intuitively like to really have this opportunity to connect in and to learn as much as I could, was to continue it on. But they always begin at 1 month, and then there's a few that you do that are a month, and then they grow to 2 months or 3 months, and then there's one that's a year as well. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And with the dietas, is there a obviously dieta translates to diet, right? So there's very specific foods that you can and can't eat, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
So. Mhm.
I was just curious, in their traditions, are they doing any fish, or is it mostly just vegetables?
Yeah, so it's a diet, right? Why are you dieting? Why is that included in a spiritual study? So why they do it is because it's an opportunity to you weaken your physical body in order to strengthen your spirit, right? And
Mm.
it's this dedication. And at times, whenever our body's weaker, we have this greater connection to the spiritual force, right? And so a diet, it begins more restricted. So I'll first share, like for a diet in general, they drink something called Kaisuma, and it's made from maca shada, which y'all probably know it as yucca. it's this root vegetable, and you make a drink out of it. And so you don't drink normal water on a diet. So you start with you drink the Kaisuma, and then you eat no sweets, no red meat, and no intimate relationships. So that's like the physical rules of the diet itself.
Hmm.
And so on that first week, you'll have the kaisuma, but you don't drink a lot. You just drink a little bit. You know, just as much as you need to be okay. And then the first few days, you typically start with a green banana ball. Just
Hmm.
one green banana ball, then it moves into two. But they don't really have salt in it, because salt makes you more thirsty, and it's just part of the rule. You try not to have salt, especially in the beginning. You can add a little bit towards the end, and then so as time increases, you can add fish to the diet, and then you can add chicken or something like that, but no red meat whatsoever.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that's really interesting. So that makes complete sense. The way that you described it, that was really profound. That like we're weakening the physical vessel so that we can be stronger in our spirit. And across a lot of cultures, this is what it seems is necessary to go into those deeper realms with spirituality. Like in the Lakota tradition, there's vision quests, right? Where people go what's called on the hill out into nature by themselves for up to 4 days with no food and water, right? And through that, it's like a much deeper connection to the spirit realm as our body weakens, you know. So yeah, that makes complete sense, and that's really beautiful. Uh,
Yeah.
so
And
can you share a little bit about like what some of your bigger, deeper insights were from the dietas?
hmm And there's also something, as you were explaining about the Lakota and we were speaking about diet, something also wanted to share for those
Yeah,
who
yeah, for
are
sure.
interested in knowing more, is that for any diet that you do too, you have these physical components, right? That of the foods that you're restricting and certain things that you eat,
Hmm.
and you have the studies that you do of the prayers, of the chants, of the stories, and also though something just as important, very profound and important to do is to have an intention, your why
Mm.
can
Mhm.
always go back to, and whether that's to heal something inside, or to open your voice, or to gain courage in something, like whatever it is, you have this intention. Because also on a diet, you what they say is that the spirits around, the good spirits, are there to test you if you really
Mm.
want what it is that you're searching for, that you're seeking. And so it'll test you in ways. And so for example, let's say your intention is to open your voice. And
Mhm.
so what you're not going to go from one day singing nothing or being croaky into the next day singing beautiful. Like
Mhm.
it doesn't come from angels raining down from heaven, right?
Mhm.
So what they do is that they bring obstacles and tests for you on your diet, where you have to learn how to speak your truth and speak
Mhm.
your voice, right? And a way that's heard, right? And a way from an open heart. And so whenever you overcome these obstacles, then you see that you get little upgrades, right? Or your voice grows, and you do, but you develop it in a way that it wasn't just given to you, so it can never be taken away.
Mhm.
So that's just one of the important parts of a diet as well. And and for me, something that's been really beautiful is through my diets and my experiences is I still have so much to learn, so much, but that's the beauty of it as well. But it's also been this true connection with the divine spiritual force, right?
Mhm.
And because it's taught me how to be committed, how to be dedicated when everything seems like it's not going anywhere, everything's falling apart. It's like it's taught me how to have courage and strength inside, and to know that there's a higher spiritual force guiding and protecting and allowing everything to happen, and that
Mhm.
if I fully put my trust and into this force and surrender to it, then everything's going to be okay. And so it's really taught me this fortitude and this the realness that there's something bigger protecting us and guiding us. And so it's increased my faith and my belief and why I'm here, and humanity as well.
Mhm. Yeah, that's really beautiful. And I totally agree with, I think that when we set intentions, regardless of just in general in life, right? Like when we set an intention to heal something, we're going to be tested with the opposite, right? Like if you're trying to open your voice, somebody's gonna that there may be an opportunity where somebody will try to, control your voice or tell you that you don't want to be heard here, and that's where we can really step into that, and just as one example, right? That of something that could be like that, and yeah, I could imagine that on the dieta it may be faster, right? Because you're so committed and you're so focused on the intention that it may be able to break through quicker than somebody who's not,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. But you know what else is too? It's true, but also even on the diet and all that you're learning, it's also so that you can apply this into your life, right? Because that's that happens, and maybe it's more intense on a diet because that's what you're focused on, but that's going on in our lives. And that's also too what we found in our online studies. It's beautiful because it's a way in our online studies we offer like a small dieta within it,
Mm.
where we it's not required, but we recommend it, that you can refrain from sweets and red meat and intimate relationships for a period of time within the online study, and to have your intention of why you're doing the study, and to focus that into the studies we're doing and the materials that's being given. But the beautiful aspect of it is that you're at home, so you're still going to work, you're still living with who you live with, you're still with your family, and that's real work, right? Because
Oh yeah.
you get an opportunity to see a microscopic level of like little patterns that maybe you didn't realize before. And so sometimes I'm like, well, you know what? I think maybe online study might be even just as intense or maybe more intense at times, right? But good, because you really get to see this healing happening in your day to day life as well.
Hmm. Yeah, because it's real time. It's real life. It's not just by yourself somewhere in a hut, right? Like y-
Exactly.
you're actually being tested in real time, and yeah, I think that can be just as powerful for sure. For sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. Yeah, I think that those three things that you mentioned, the red meat, the intimate relationships, and the sweets, they all have especially if the intimate relationships aren't with somebody, you're in love with or trying to, build a relationship with, if it's more of like um, just for pleasure or whatnot, right? Like those kind of things can really lower the frequency of a person, right?
Mhm.
And especially the red meats as well, because the cows and the pigs are so mistreated in this country and in the world, and all that energy is being transferred into the food and then transferred into us, and then we have to process all that. But if we have a little bit less to process, it'll be a little easier to process the other stuff that we're working through, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and also too, like, so they have these dietary restrictions for a reason, right? And because, for example, whenever you are on a diet, you're building your spiritual muscles, and you're also connecting in to this higher power, this higher force. And what the pages and the shamans said is that whenever you eat sweets, it puts a hole in that spiritual connection. It kind of just makes it a little bit more weaker. And so we diet and have these restrictions, and so that we stay firmer within ourselves, right? And because whenever we're on a diet, we're searching for something, and so
Mhm.
it actually, you'll see, it helps you to stay clearer and more connected into to what you're growing and what you're learning. Because when you're learning something new or developing something new, you're not so solid in it yet, right? And so it's a moment where it helps to fortify you.
Mhm.
And so then in the sexual relations too, that can also cut that spiritual force a little bit. So you just have a moment to have all your energy contained within yourself, and
Mhm.
have just you're giving yourself a sacred time to be able to really do the work. And then also the real work comes in the integration
Mhm.
after the diet's closed, whenever you incorporate all these things back into your life, and to stay with the practice, stay with the lessons that you've learned. Mm-hmm.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think the integration piece is really important. We've talked about it on a lot of different podcasts with a lot of different
Mm-hmm.
people, and across the board, everybody really emphasizes that, and I think the integration piece is something that can sometimes be missing for people, especially when they enjoy those aspects of the medicine that, has us going into these spaces where everything's really like a video game, right? And they kind of want to go back into that world to escape this reality versus like the integration piece is like, okay, we're actually taking everything we learned from the medicine and incorporating it into our daily life, right?
Exactly.
So I'm really curious about who Shahu. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah, Hushahu.
Okay. Yeah, so this was a woman from the tribe that was the first woman to sit with the medicine, and that was just 20 years ago, right?
There's something, yeah, about that.
Yeah, so we mentioned her in the podcast with Shayna, but I when I asked you about it before the podcast, it seems like you've had some really intimate experiences with her, right? Like in terms of being on the land when she was dieting. I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, so I'll just give a little background for all of you who maybe don't know who Shahu is. So she was the first woman in her culture to enter into the spiritual path, and so she became the first woman to begin drinking their medicine, which is ayahuasca, which he just shared, and so whenever so she was the first woman to enter into a diet, right? And on her diet, she brought a voice for the women, not only in singing, which she totally did that, but also she helped to bring gender equality and for the women to
Mm,
have a voice of respect. And she also materialized the visions that even all the men had, and she was having them too of the designs, and she brought them to life. And so it's through her inspiration and who she is that she's a big part of why we have the indigenous bracelets of the Wanawa with their designs. If you see online or somewhere the beautiful face paintings and everything, and she can. The beautiful thing is she continues to develop and develop the
mm,
designs, and more keep coming. And so she really brought this empowerment for women in her village, women in nearby villages, and now as she traveled the world for women all over the world to really believe in yourself, and she's like a living library of their sieties and of their chants, and she's a teacher for so many people and in their village and in their home. And so most recently she completed the strongest diet that they have in their culture, and it's the
mm.
heart of the anaconda. Somehow what happened, I had the blessed pleasure and honor of being with her for the first 6 months of this diet. And so I was with her in this time, and she entered into this diet so that she could bring even something greater for her people, right? To really connect in with this ancestral force. And in this diet, you really into another space and time, and it's also dangerous because the risk is life or death. And so but you go into that with this intention, and so it was really beautiful to see her, how strong she was and all of the process that she went through, and for me just to have the opportunity to be in that space, right, to be able to support, to help, and just to learn by being next to her, and all of those that were there in the sacred space. We were deep in the jungle. And so she recently completed that. And I just also had the honor of touring with her in the United States. And we called it the Heart of Transformation Tour. And her
Mm.
main message that she brought, because she encountered this such powerful force, right? And strength. And what she learned, what she felt is that there's a moment whenever she encountered this force on the diet, and she went into the diet with a lot of hurts and different things like that. But when she felt the beauty of this force and the connection to something greater, her heart opened and she forgave all of those that hurt her. She had compassion for them, and she realized that she needed to pray for them because they're coming from a hurt place inside. And the message that she wants everyone to know is that we really have to forgive.
Mm.
Forgive all of those who have hurt us, all the pains, what we hold on to inside, because it just becomes a weight for ourselves. And everyone receives exactly what they need, but it's not our responsibility. It's a higher spiritual force, and that will take care of that. And so for us, it's to forgive, it's to let these weights come off and to open our hearts, because there's so much magic that lies there, and goodness, and we feel good about that, and that's where inspiration comes, and then we can really help other people. And so that's her main message that I was learning from her as I was just traveling with her as well.
Amazing, amazing. She sounds super powerful. Maybe maybe she'll come on the podcast sometime, or maybe I'll be able to meet her someday. That would be really powerful. That would,
Yes, yes, definitely.
yeah, yeah. That's really amazing. And what? So I'm just curious. The heart of the anaconda, is it literally the heart that she's eating?
She doesn't actually eat it. It's a private secret process,
Oh,
but she
okay.
doesn't eat the heart, but it's connected to the heart.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I mean the anaconda energy is so powerful, and it's the largest snake in the world, right?
I'm sure it is. I'm not so good with scientifics, but it's huge. It's a very
It's
powerful animal,
yeah.
and the Yawanawa, so they call it Runua. That's in their language, and for them, that it is a very powerful and animal and guide, and they have a lot of respect for it, and it's
hmm
a big teacher for them.
hmm
Hmm.
hmm Yeah, yeah. I've seen a few of them, like I think at a zoo, maybe. I haven't seen them in the wild, but they're just so amazing. They can grow to, I watched a lot of animal shows growing up and still do, and like seeing these 20-foot snakes just like a thick 3 foot across, some of them like so huge, just these amazing, amazing creatures, that they can get to that size.
Yeah.
And did you see any in the wild?
Yes, I've seen some.
Oh,
I've even
beautiful.
touched a few.
Wow. Wow.
And they're not all that huge, but they're good size. It's some I've seen a really, really big one, and I've seen some that are big, but not that big. But they're beautiful and definitely to be respected.
For sure, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I feel like I've heard that they can take down like a jaguar or the large um, rodents and things like that.
Yeah, they have a way of calling them in, right? To have them come to them.
Hmm
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I mean, that to me, 20 years ago was 2005. You know what I mean? That doesn't seem that long ago at all. I had just graduated high school in 2004, so it just doesn't seem that long for me personally, right? But like yeah, like 20 years is such a small period of time that women have been drinking the medicine. And are the different designs that are painted on the face, do they have all different types of meanings?
Yeah. And also what we can do, like I again, I'm not so scientific and I forget numbers a lot. So, but online it has like if you research her name, you can find out exactly when it was that she did that. The dates are there. And
Mm,
yeah, and so the designs they have different meanings. They're a form of protection. And
mhm,
so that's also, as we were talking about the diets earlier, that's a huge part of a diet is to be painted in their designs, because what they say is that when you're painted, it actually has the good spirits see you and they come closer to you, and so that brings
mm,
this form of protection. And so they use the designs and festivals and in ceremony, but also in a diet, and so they have various different meanings, but they all are for a form of protection. And in the ancient times, the Wanawa, they didn't have makeup, right? So this is a form of their beauty. They would paint
mm,
themselves with their, so there's two things. One is called urukum. It's like a red plant, and they makes like a little paste that you put on, and they would mix it with sapa, for an example, but that the beautiful resin, it has a beautiful, from the trees, it makes a nice smell.
mm,
They would have the urukum, which they call pashinti, when you mix it together. And they also have something called nanu. In Brazil, they call it Shani Pahus. It's a fruit from a tree that you grate, and then you squeeze it with like a material, and then some juice comes out, and then you put that juice in the sun for a few hours, and it helps it get dark and black, and then that's what you
mm.
paint on your body, and it becomes like kind of like a henna, but a different like a dark black bluish tint, and that's the designs you put on, and it stays on for like 10 days.
Whoa.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't realize it stayed on that long. So even if you washed it with water, it would stay on.
Yeah, so what after you paint yourself, you leave it for quite a few hours, right? You try not to sweat because if you sweat, it'll kind of drip, but at least 4 to 6 hours is good to 7 to that it sits in. And then you wash your face and it's gonna look light. It'll look light or your body wherever they painted it. But when you wake up in the morning, you're black, and
Oh,
you're with
wow.
the designs. And then if you wanted to like come off sooner, you can wash your face with soap and put oils on and with it, to make it come off faster. But yeah, it's about a week to 10 days that you stay painted.
Wow. Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's really amazing. That's really amazing. I went to Aniwa this year,
Hmm.
which is like a gathering of 40 different elders from different tribes around the world, and I was witnessing the women from the Yawanawas painting their faces, and it was really beautiful because there was so much intention being put into it, and the designs, some of them are so intricate and beautiful. It was really amazing.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
they are. Hmm.
that was really cool. Yeah, so for you personally, have you had all different types of designs? Uh,
Yes. Hmm.
mhm,
Yeah, I've been going for many years, and so I've had designs, so many designs on my face, on my arms, on my legs, on the hands. It's really fun to do on the hands,
mhm.
and I've started designing as well. Whenever we were doing the online studies, I was far away from my friends, so I started painting a little bit, because I'm the translator as well and a guide, and so now I've even painted a few people, right, and things like that. So I've
Nice.
student, right? And I'm learning, and so I do that as well a little bit.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I think any type of art expression, especially when it's so much depth to the meaning, is amazing, you know.
Hmm.
So that's really special. So do you feel like every time you go, there's like a deepening or like a new almost like level unlocked inside yourself or a new layer of the onion being peeled back?
Definitely. I have to say, like, my first few years of going was the most intense because I was radically transforming, right? And so I've been really blessed to receive some profound healings while I was there from the pages, they call them, which is shamans, right? And to have guidance and everything. And so in the past, I would always go with an intention, right? Because it was like, I'm here to change my life. And so it'd be the next layer. And so it was rapid transformation for a while. And then I would come back to the United States. And what kept me going was that's why I think like I continued to work on projects to stay involved because it was my anchor. And I was always listening to their chants and their songs and any recordings I had, which just helped me stay connected within the craziness of the world, right? Or with the uncertainty and all the changes. And it helped my integration a lot
Mhm.
and and so most recently I was in the village for 1 year and 4 months without leaving, so I was there
Wow.
directly, and it was a dream come true for me because it was something I always wanted to do since the first time I went. And I really learned a lot being there, right? They're my friends and my family. I consider that and everything. And also having the chance to really spend so much time with them and to be a part of the once every Monday, they have something called Muchirao where everyone gets together for breakfast and then men go out and they do some kind of work within the village, right? Whether it's cutting something down or organizing this. And so the women, we would make breakfast for them, we made lunch for them. And I got to hang out like in a day-to-day life, and do things with them.
Mhm.
And so that's part of something I really appreciate is yes, I love learning their music and their studies and all of that, but also really getting to know them and how they work as a community and how they work as a village. And like they have such a profound commitment to family, and to really being there for one another. And so for me to be able to experience that too and to learn what it's like to be held in a community, a tight knit one, it's good for the heart, good for the soul, right? And so when I come back to be with my family, it helps me to really be present with them as well and help in any way that I can. And so the more that I've dove in with Yawanawa, is the more that it's shown me the importance of my family
Mm.
and and the importance of like really loving those who have taken raised you, right, and everything. And so it's my connection with them, and for all the travels that I've done, it's showed me what's important in life, and that's the small things, right, and the goodness in the heart, and helping out your brothers and sisters, and really being there and showing up.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I love that you said that. That's so, I mean, that's what it all trickles down to, you know. It's like, how do we show up in day to day? Like, how do we treat others when nobody's watching, or talk to ourselves when nobody's watching? How do we show up for the planet? How how loving and caring and open can our heart be, right? And how much can we see others because we're able to open ourselves up to see others, right?
Yeah.
And I think that that's really important. Just it doesn't matter what language you speak, it doesn't matter where you live in the world. We're all human, and even the ones that aren't human still can connect in that way, you know? I'm sure there's
Uh-huh.
some aliens on Earth somewhere, you know?
And one thing that's reminding me is something that Shahu has said, and then also her niece Kunama. So Kunama is I work with her. She's my sister and also my friend. And Kunama is Hushahu's niece. And so Hushahu was the first female to enter into the spiritual path, and then Kunama was the first female youth to do
Mm,
this year-long diet. And on her diet, she also encountered this beautiful voice, and her teacher told her that she carries and embodies the voice of her ancestors, right? When she's sing, when Hushao sings, it blows you away. And the same thing as Kana, it's just like, wow, it's like something so ancient and angelic. And so, but something that Kunama has told me a lot as well is that, so many people today, they want to change the world and save the planet and make some big change. But what she reminds us of is that if we first have to heal ourselves,
mhm.
because if we have incongruencies within ourselves, how and we're not healed inside, how can we begin to change something in the planet? Because we are the world.
Exactly.
Each one of us is a microcosm of that. And so we really learn on doing our deep inner work. And then how is our relationship to our neighbor, our parents, our friends? How do we interact with them? Is that good? And then as we do this, then we can naturally move on to the planet. But and so that's also part of the teachings that we do within the online studies and all the events that we have, is to really focus in on that first, and we heal together. And with that, we raise the vibration, and we can begin to make even bigger changes too.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with that more. I mean, I think that that's part of the problems in the world, right? It's like it's run by people that have a lot of hurt, a lot of passed down trauma from their lineages, you know, that hasn't been healed, and maybe there isn't even an awareness that something needs to be healed, you know. Those aspects, I think, are why the world is the way it is, and the more we can heal inside ourselves, then it's almost like there's a moment, right, when we've done enough work on ourselves where it's like, okay, now you're ready to step into the community and help in the community. And then from there, it's like, okay, then you can start to expand more out into the world, you know? But I think I totally agree with that. I mean, that should be like a core component of the leaders that we choose, right? Is like how deep have they gone within themselves, and how much have they healed within themselves in order to be in these positions of power, you know,
Mm-hmm.
which is important. I just read something about how like the the alcohol business has lost like $470 billion or something last year because the generation that's turning 21 and has been 21, they're not drinking anymore, you know?
Wow.
So it's pretty amazing because I believe that with each generation, there's more and more of these star children coming in that are seeing all these old programs and patterns that are no are just controlling the masses and not really helping the evolution of the planet. And
Mm-hmm.
there has to be this balance between the technology and nature, you know, otherwise we're gonna get there's a timeline where it could get way too far away from nature, but we gotta we got to stay anchored in on that because it's essential for our well-being,
Hmm.
as
Yes.
humans.
And that's exactly something I'd wanted to share as well, is like part of the mission of bringing the spirit of the forest and thoughts of humanity, and like why have I chosen to dive in so deep with the Wanawa as well. And it was something I always felt inside of my heart, and I knew, and so I just started doing it. But what I've seen through time as well is, it's beautiful to be able to support these events and the different things that we do through the organization, because I see the world, right? And many of us are disconnected from ourselves, and because it's a big disconnection from nature,
Hmm.
right? And for example, the indigenous, their roots, and the wisdom that they share, it goes back to the beginning of time. And it's not something, their teachings is not something they're making up. It's been newly received. It is something from their ancestors that learned it from the ways of the forest. And so what they share brings like this calming truth. And so whenever I've seen this firsthand, whenever we get to the other people haven't heard this before, when they get to experience and start studying and learning, it helps them to really connect in with themselves. And I firmly believe that each and every one of us was born with the mission to fulfill. But with the craziness and the chaos of the world, and everything, at times it's hard for us to really hear who we are, that little voice that's guiding us, because the guidance comes as little whispers, right? And so to be able to really hear it and connect in. And so through the study of the indigenous knowledge, or just the experience of it, has really helped me and a lot of people to really connect in with themselves, and then to really get to know what their mission is. And then whenever they're living their mission, it's something that naturally helps to make the world a better place without having to try it innately happens. And so we get to learn really how to be and to hear, and being is like just this purity inside, and this gratitude for life, and this innate joy as well.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's you nailed it. You nailed it. Absolutely. I mean, I mean, it's so interesting that, we went from being outside as kids, right? To now and then like using internet to just escape from nature a little bit, to now it's flipped where everything's online and we're going to nature to escape from the technology world, which is there was a shift in that probably like 5, 10 years ago, and now it's like the virtual world almost is more important, but people forget that like it's all apps and internet, right? That can be shut down and shut off at any moment. And there's a lot of ego around it, right? Like, oh, I built this whole page out and I got a million followers or whatever, but then it's like it can get shut down just as quickly as what was it, Vine, or one of those social medias got shut down like overnight. You remember that?
I do. I can't remember. I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the name, but I remember.
I
Uh-huh.
think it was called Vine or something like that. But yeah, I went out in nature this past weekend for 2 days, and just being with no phone service, being away from everything, just that little bit, I just felt so much more grounded and being able to hold so much more space for my friends and family and the community. And there was just a huge difference between being in the city and being around all the energy and 5G and all that,
Mm-hmm.
It really took some
Definitely.
toll on me because I'm pretty sensitive.
Yeah, it's important to have the nature time. I was really blessed. I think I got to spend a lot of time in the forest, right? But oh my gosh, I could just feel, I was like, this is so necessary. Like, I really need this time. And just like to have the opportunity just to be with the forest, I could see with time how much it was nourishing for me and nurturing and calming down everything, and really helped me to be more present and grounded. And it's something that I think we easily forget in life, because there's work, our life is based around the internet and different applications and things like that, that we get a little, I can even do that when I'm just working a lot on the computer, that I forget to go take time out in nature. But then I find myself a little anxious, or not thinking clearly, or running a little high vibration, not in the best way. And then when I go do, and it can be hard to separate myself from that. But when I take that time and I go to nature, just have a moment for myself, it's like, oh yeah, that's what it's about, right? And
Hmm.
that's where that calm can come through.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I think that there's just so much that we can learn from these ways, from the indigenous ways and across the board, it doesn't really matter which part of the world. The teachings are very similar. It's like come back to nature, come back to forgiveness, come back to gratitude, come back to loving your neighbor, loving yourself. Those core teachings are across all religions, all shamanic teachings, and at the core of it, it's like the when those aspects are kind of checked off, right? It's like then we can be of service in a bigger way.
Exactly. And that's also something that who Shahu's talked about, and kind of many of the Wanawa, is that spirituality. It's like a tree, right? The trunk and the roots is this divine intelligence and this greater spiritual force. And the branches are all of the different religions or ways of praise and being, but it's all connected to the same thing.
Mhm.
So everything that we study, all the different religions, it's all the same God or that same spiritual force. And so it brings in equality, right? And so where they don't need to judge other people, we accept and bring the importance of union. And so that we can be free to be who we are, and this joy and this love and this respect and the goodwill. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Uh, yeah, I'm curious what um are you open to sharing like any of your personal, deeper insights or downloads? Like when I say that, is anything pop into your mind? Like anything that where you had like a really deep realization or something that, was besides your mission, like something that maybe humanity needs to hear or people in general?
Through my mission or through my experiences and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Um, Well, I've had many profound experiences and many challenging ones, and many good ones. And I think in this world, we look for quick fixes,
Mhm.
right? And want things fast. And uh, something that I've really learned from it all is as we've been mentioning in this talk and call as well, is the importance of simplicity
Mhm.
and in purity and in goodness and one big teaching I've learned in many ways, and that my friend Kanema has told to me many times, and she shares with our groups, is that life is not about what you want, right? It's about surrendering and listening to something higher. Because we suffer many times whenever we want it to be like this, we want it to be like that, and then it doesn't happen. And then we spend so much time suffering because it's not like that. But whenever you take a pause and look back, things tend to always work out in a way better than you could have possibly imagined. And so maybe this thing that you want, whether it could be work or relationship or this growth inside, hasn't happened yet, or it doesn't look like you want it to or you thought it would, because very often and most often it's because there's something much bigger than your mind couldn't have conceived, that you could not have thought about. And
Mm.
so my biggest thing that I've learned through my path with them and through my own experiences is the trust, and to calm down and to listen and to have the humility when, even if you've worked really hard at something or something falls apart, to always remember the gratitude. Okay, I don't fully understand, but thank you. And have the patience to step back and see where you can grow, see what you can do, and allow life to move through you.
Mm.
And every time I've done that, everything works out way better than I could have planned. And so it's like there's this balance of believing in yourself, of being strong, but also of humility and of humbleness and of trust. And so that's where it's like really important just to connect. If you can try to remember every day connect to something higher, and open your heart to what life has to offer.
Yeah. Yeah, I really resonate with that for sure. I think the trust and what you said, like it may be much bigger than our, monkey mind can grasp, right? But it also requires some action because I've been in a space where I was just like full on surrender trust, but there was very little action, and I found that I needed to take steps in those directions that I wanted to go, as well as keeping the trust, right?
Mm.
Because if I
Yeah.
was too surrendered, then I would just get swept into the ocean and be lost in that flow. But if I set the steps and actually put in action from that intuitive space, then more would open up from there.
Yeah, I think goes it's in the going of like of not giving up, right, and always listening and praying. And so you have a goal, and or you want something that you want, so you're working towards it. But if it doesn't work out, instead of just like being just completely upset or not doing anything, you look at it like just like, okay, that didn't happen that way. What more can I do? What other direction can I do? And so the thing is to never give up, and but to act from a way of curiosity, and work towards, like, I know it's going to work out in some way, so never giving up hope, right?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, I think that that's a really good place for us to end the podcast. I think that it was really an honor to have you on today, Angelique. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for the work that you're doing and everything that you've learned and continue to learn, is so important for the planet. And I'm really excited to see where this all opens up and evolves for you. And you're always welcome back on the podcast at any time. And thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And I really appreciated your questions, right? And the way they all kind of flowed and connected together. And so thank you so much for holding this space and this podcast to really share the message, and for giving me an opportunity to speak. And definitely, I'd love to come back on at some time, and maybe bring some of my Indigenous friends along as well. Could help in the translating if you'd like.
That would be
And
amazing.
yeah, I'd love that. Uh-huh.
That'd be super cool. Super cool. Well, thank you so much, Angelique. We'll stay in touch and we'll talk soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.